recognized.
Madam Chair, I yield 5 minutes to the gentleman from Louisiana who has offered so much positive input on the Lower Energy Cost Act, who's the author of the Builder Act and added so many other great provisions to this bill, Mr. Graves.
Gentleman from Louisiana is now recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I can make posters too. I think I got the right backdrop there. Let's talk a little bit about credibility. Let's talk a little bit about the challenges that this country is experiencing, that the little girl on the playground, that our families across America are experiencing right now, and let's talk about why. This body's about credibility. It's about your word. So let's talk a little bit about why America is experiencing the challenges that they are. We're seeing higher electricity prices that are making American families unable to be able to afford medicine and groceries, refuel their car, or pay electricity bills. Why is that happening? It's happening because my friends across the aisle have refused to produce American energy. It's a supply and demand issue. This happened when they gained power. The day the President of the United States was inaugurated, Madam Speaker, Madam Chair, gasoline prices in my home state were as low as $1.74 a gallon. $1.74 a gallon. Let me ask you, where in the world are you going to find that today? You have cut off production of oil and gas. Don't take my word for it. You know, one term I've never heard anybody say is bring back that Jimmy Carter energy policy. Yet, when Jimmy Carter was president, he leased 100 times more acres of lands and waters for energy production. Why do we have a crisis in energy right now? It was self-inflicted. Why has this administration, have these Democrats sold off hundreds of millions of barrels of oil from our Strategic Petroleum Reserve? The emergency reserve that was designed for crises, not awful policy. It's because they've refused to produce energy. You've created a supply problem, and you're using our emergency reserves to address it. And so you sit here and also raise royalty rates. You proposed increased pipeline fees. You proposed taxes or enacted taxes on American energy, all driving up the cost. And then you sit here and wonder why we have high prices? These were all self-inflicted wounds. You did this to America. Your policies. Madam Speaker, it is remarkable seeing what's going on right now, listening to my friends across the aisle talking about the environment. Yet, their own legislation requires the use of critical minerals that they, at the same time, have banned or prevented from being used, from being mined or processed or refined in the United States. In some cases, China has 80% of these critical minerals locked up. So if you force markets in the direction, if you force the use of those strategic materials, and the only place that has it is China, who are you benefiting? Look, China loves their energy policies. They benefit from it. All roads lead to China. Over 80% of the solar panels are made in China. And whenever this administration found that China was illegally subsidizing, illegally dumping solar panels on the United States, they banned them and put tariffs on them. So then China starts sending them through other countries. And you know what this administration does? Says, yeah, that's fine. They acknowledge that they were Chinese solar panels being sent through other countries, and they still allowed it. The Biden administration allowed it, and my friends across the aisle have done nothing to stop it. The truth is that emissions have gone up under their policies, not down. Madam Chair, let me say that again. Under the previous administration, emissions went down. Greenhouse gas emissions went down an average of 2.5% a year. First year of the Biden administration, my friends across the aisle working with them closely, emissions went up 6%. Last year went up another 1.3 or 1.4%. I'm going to say it again. My friends across the aisle and their policies have resulted in higher greenhouse gas emissions. They have increased our dependence upon foreign energy sources. We had the Secretary of the Interior standing right in our committee, wasn't even aware that we had become increasingly dependent upon Russian energy. And they talk about corporate welfare. I agree. which is why the over $600 billion that my friends across the aisle have put toward effectively bribing companies into investing in renewable energy sources that in many cases are not economic simply doesn't make sense. This bill follows logic, it follows good policy. It ensures that we're getting energy resources from the United States. It ensures the affordability by bringing American energy online. And it results in lower global emissions. Lower global emissions.
Okay.
Madam Chair, I urge support of this legislation and yield back.
I reserve.
All right, the gentleman